So I don't know if we're getting signal today, but no signal. All right, we'll just wing it, but I know it will be broadcast anyway, so that's the important thing, is that people can watch tonight. So with that, I would like to call to order the Kaiser City Council. It is Monday, August 16, 2021. It is regular session, and I ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Day?
Here.
Councilor Kohler?
Here.
Councilor Herrera?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Smith?
She is excused this evening.
Councilor Reed? Here. And Councilor Dram?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you all. If you are able, please rise, and I invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. This evening, we don't have anything listed under special orders of business, so that will take us to committee reports. We have 2 people signed up tonight. We're going to go ahead and start with our KPAC, the Kaiser Public Arts Commission, with Kim Steen.
Well, as Kathy said, I'm Kim Steen. Am I too close?
You're good.
Okay. I'm on the Kaiser Public Art Commission. I'm actually the chair of the Art Commission, and I'm here to do my report. So I don't know if anybody's been to the park lately, but we've had a few installations here lately, so we're pretty excited about that. We have the, yes, everybody's got it. So the wings were completed by Bella Biondi. She was the student on our art commission. And already have some really cute pictures. There's a preschool class that goes to the park on a daily basis. I've seen them. I took pictures of them one day because they were all lined up with a rope walking into the park. It's super cute. So they've kind of made the rounds. So they did the Sasquatch and the wings, and it's really exciting for us on on KPAC to see it doing what we wanted it to do, the Insta art. Also, we had a new installation at Copper Creek where we had Smith and Steel had Iron Glory, and he has taken that out to kind of refurbish it, and then he would like to place it after that. And that's one thing we needed to ask of the council is to approve the location, and we've chosen the area or the corner of Jude and River Road. So we're hoping that will work out. I don't think we've actually finalized it with the landowner yet, but in the process. And then we also had a DDA Planell, who does mosaic art, approached KPAC about a month ago and came to us with a proposal that he wants to place. Does anybody have that picture?
We got it electronically.
Okay.
For those who were actually, it was in your packet. So if anybody wants to see the picture of the mosaic art from Didier Planell, who is a professional mosaic artist, please go to our website, to the Kaiser Public Arts Commission packet from your last meeting, I believe, or was it the meeting before?
It might have been the meeting before.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he gave us a proposal at this last meeting. We got that, and he's proposing to do it for $11,200 for 80 square feet. And if everybody's familiar with the splash pad, it's like it's like a seat. It's a concrete short wall, and so he's proposing to put mosaic on. I guess it's like 80 square feet. So that's another thing we need to. We're going to seek permission from the council to seek bids and other location. Get your approval for the location, and then permission to seek grants and do fundraising, so we can make that happen. So we're pretty excited about that. What else did we do? Oh, the story pole. So the story pole's been done, but we haven't had a dedication because of COVID, and we didn't have the signage and everything done. And so far right now we have the stands out there, and we're going to be placing some verbiage on there. We're hoping our plan is on September 18th to have a dedication at 11 a.m. What else? We also discussed sealing the murals that we have. That hasn't been done for a while, so we have a coating that we put on those. I think we go maybe 10 feet up or something so that if anybody does graffiti them, we can easily get it off. Yeah, I think that's about it.
All
Any
right.
questions?
Any questions? Councilor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I just want to thank you for chairing this committee. It's a fabulous committee to be on. Lots of fun, lots of really good things for the city, and they're visible and lovely. So thank you for all your work with that. I just wanted to emphasize, I guess, one thing that you had mentioned with the mosaic for maybe fiscally concerned people, that $11,000 is not coming out of the city budget, but as you said, we will be doing fundraising, we'll be seeking grants and so forth for that. So the Arts Commission budget is significantly smaller than just even that. So
Very much so.
yes, so just wanted to make sure that people understood that was where that was coming from. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, did Mr. Planell come to the meeting? Did you get a chance to meet him?
Oh, yeah, he came 2 meetings ago, and basically we said find a spot, where he was interested in doing one for the city. He's from Puerto Rico, and so he's a very prolific artist, and he actually teaches mosaic, so we're pretty excited. I think Lori's trying to get him involved in the Keizer Art Association for classes, but so yeah, he came to us, and if you've all seen it, it's beautiful what he wants to do, so.
Yeah, I had a chance to meet him. A friend of mine, whose mutual friend, was one who introduced us. He's also a citizen here of Kaiser from Puerto Rico, and really believe that this gentleman's professional expertise, which is international,
Right.
as it turns out, is really worth looking at. So I would encourage people to go to his Facebook page to look at his work, and that we are very blessed to have a person with that caliber of talent to bring us a proposal here that that the Arts Commission can then have a conversation about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful. My mom saw pictures and goes, ooh, that's pretty. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Anybody else? We're good. All right. That takes us to Parks Report, and Mr. Matt Lawyer.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and our wonderful staff here at the city. Matt Lawyer, Kaiser Parks Advisory Board. So we met last Tuesday. Actually, the key topic was, in fact, mosaic. The Parks Board is making a recommendation to approve the location out here by the splash pad for that. Had some questions regarding, especially the areas where the benches are not there, how they're going to protect that, and he had some really good ideas on that. So I think the board feels pretty confident in the location. We also approved adding 2 new bands to the list of the Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater concert series. So Clint will have a little bit more on his bench to call up for the concerts, which will be great. And got to hear from Peggy and Jerry Moore, which is always a lot of fun. They brought in tomatoes that I'm pretty sure were mixed with pumpkins because they were gigantic tomatoes. And so continuing really good work at the garden, and just really appreciate all the efforts they put in on a very regular basis to make that work. We have an RFP for the concert series. Myself and Chair Loudon were appointed to that for the Parks Board. And let's see, what else? Got to hear a really good report from Robert about all the things that have been going on with the different maintenance projects, some of the efforts they did during Kaiser Fest to increase awareness. And I just wanted to take a minute to, we have actually the Parks tour coming up. I was supposed to talk about that. I apologize. We have the Parks tour coming up next month on the 12th or 13th. I'm having a hard time reading this, but it's that Monday. And we're going to be doing Claggett Creek, Northview, and Palmacia. And I really advocated very strongly for Palmacia. I think that it's a park that's sort of been pretty quiet for a lot of years. And being an undeveloped park, I think it deserves a little bit of attention, especially in light of what was able to be done down at Wallace House. And So we're going to be doing those. It'll be great. Get to see the new play structure at Keizer Creek Park and see who can hook the salmon. That'll be a lot of fun. Going to segue just a little bit into the Keizer Creek Watershed Council. I just want to take a moment to really give a shout out to Carol and the rest of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association for being insistent in keeping their parks front and center with a lot of folks both in the Parks Board but also on the Watershed Council. This last Sunday, I was able to work with Miranda Coleman, who is going to be the youth liaison, but is also my youth liaison for the Watershed Council, and her and 6 of her colleagues from the McNairy Leadership Group went out and kind of destroyed all the ivy in the upper part of the park. And we filled my little tiny trailer full of all kinds of debris, and you know, those young ladies came out and really just did a great job over the course of about an hour, hour and a half. Chair Loudon from the Parks Board was there, as was Rhonda Rich, picking up sticks and stuff, and then Carol showed up and provided some refreshments. So really good project, all youth driven. She came up with a plan, submitted it to Robert, and just took the ball and ran with it. And I just showed up and unlocked stuff and got tools and let them do what they needed to do and supervised to make sure everything was done safely. But I think that just goes to show the tremendous work we've got through the Public Works Department and the continuing relationship of using volunteers to maintain that pride, spirit, and volunteerism attitude in our park system. So I need to get back over and do something on LaBiche Ditch. So maybe I'll talk with Councilor Herrera and see if he's got some ideas and some stuff we need to do over there. But I have it on pretty good authority that sometime maybe this week we may have a bench out at, or excuse me, a picnic table out at Palmacia. So lots of exciting things happening there. We're going to be gearing up for the watershed again probably in September. We're still recruiting. We brought Jeff Anderson on board, I think it was last month. He was kind of one of the re-originators of the Watershed Council when Mayor Coho brought that back. And so we're looking for folks that are passionate about projects and wanting to pull things together. So if that's something you're interested in. Salem kind of threw down the gauntlet, I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna be doing a 1,000 square foot pollinator garden sometime in the fall. So just keep that in mind if we're looking for something fun. It's at the park that's, everybody thinks is Keizer's Park by Fred Meyer. So we can kind of claim it since we're doing it, even though it's not technically our park, but we'll be looking for some land, possibly see about doing something like that. But yeah, good things. Great to get the kids out there working hard. Again, getting support from Carol and Rhonda and the rest of the board, doing great work. So,
All right, fabulous. Thank you all, especially with the humidity this weekend, to be able to get out there and do that work. It's wonderful. Looking forward to the parks tour. Any questions for Mr. Lawyer? Councilor Herrera.
I just want to thank Matt. Hey, thank you, Matt, for all the coordinating, all the stuff you do in the community. I really appreciate that. And by the way, that Palmacia Park, I'm glad you said that because that's been one of those, it really needs attention sometimes. But I really appreciate all the work you do in the park. I wish I could still physically help, but I walk across the street and that's where we do our projects.
No,
and thanks
yeah.
for your help over there, by the way. That place is looking good.
Great.
To your folk volunteers, Eagle Scouts and everybody. But thank you very much, man.
Yep, my pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And events coming up, make sure that we get them so we can share them out for sure. And then I know the parks tour will be on our calendar, but also we'll share that out for anybody who would like to come along and see what's going on in these 3 parks in particular. Thanks for choosing them. All right. Thank you so much. That's all I have for committee reports. Is there any other person here to do a presentation or a report on a city committee? Okay. Then this will then take us to public comments. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled this evening. That is for a resolution forming the Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Improvement District and an ordinance spreading the assessments to the Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Local Improvement District. So if you're here for that, hang on, we'll get to you shortly. And I do have some people signed up, and I'd like to start with Colleen Bush. Like to come on down. Good to see you.
while. Colleen Bush, I live in Kaiser. I'm just here on a personal basis. I just want to give kudos to our public officials, to our Kaiser Fire, to our police, and how they have been working together, cooperating, teamwork, collaboration. We have personally, my husband and I have personally been part of seeing that happen. And one of them was National Night Out. Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association had a good party. There was a lot of folks there. We had like 4 different groups of police officers come, and most favorite were the motorcycle cops. The kids got to sit on there. And my most favorite was when Chief Tig came and he read out the numbers for our door prizes. So kind of got voluntold, but good sport. And then Kaiser Fire showed up and with their engine, and the kids got to look at that and explore all that. That was wonderful. But in a personal way, in the past 6 weeks, I don't know why, but somehow my husband and I have been at the right place at the right time, ending up having to call 911 several times. And Mayor Clark, you're part of that, one of those, for vegetation fire, bark dust. Councilor Duran knows about that one too. And they responded really quickly, great attitudes, professional, right there. And then we had to call the police the other night. And I just want to say kudos to Officer Jefferson. He came in and diffused the situation like that, and knew the resources, spoke with the person that needed some help. And when we were all done, everybody was calm, cool, collected, and we could go back to bed. So I just wanted to say yes, thank you. Thank you for all your training. Thank you for the collaboration, for knowing resources, knowing how to help people, and putting it to work. So that's all.
Thank you very much. And also thank you for your service. I know you're not here in that capacity for the fire board, but want to acknowledge that Ms. Bush does serve our community in that volunteer manner. Any questions for Ms. Bush? All right, thank you. Next we have Omar Alvarado, community event. You talked to us last time. What you got? Glad to have you here, sir. If you could just remind us of your name and city of residence.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Omar Alvarado.
Time.
Oh, hang on. Reset.
It surprised me.
All right.
Was I too loud?
No, we want to make sure you have double.
Okay, it's because I'm a DJ, so I talk on the microphone all the time, and sometimes it gets too loud. Sorry. Okay, so so a couple updates. Again, we're having this music festival and music fair, I guess so to say, at the Kaiser Stadium, September 5th. Everybody here? And I got a couple copies as well. So this is the new flyer we updated, and then we just have confirmed a bunch of more artists, local vendors, and partners as well. But we are still looking for vendors and performers as well as partners as well. So definitely feel free to reach out. This new poster has a QR code that you could just take a picture of, and it'll take you to our Facebook page and our Instagram page if you just want to get in contact with us. But yeah, so we would really like to work with the city of Kaiser just so that we could get the tourism going on over there. There's going to be a lot of people coming from Portland, from Bend, from Eugene, right? So we really just kind of want to, for me, I just want to make this like a more tourist place so we could exemplify our music and our art. I am working with the Holiday Inn over at the Kaiser Stadium to provide some rooms for some people at a discount once, if they say like the code and everything. But just so we could help them out as well and they could help us out. We'll leave a couple flyers here. If there's any questions, definitely let me know. But we definitely would like some support from the city and any other partners as well as the community. More than welcome to work with you all. We just really we're really focused on the philosophy of being community driven and community powered. It's going to be an event of no cost for the community because we know it can be a barrier sometimes. And we have a big group of volunteers who also share in our values and our ideas that are also going to be helping us out as well. So it's very focused on like this community and this neighborhood power that we're really trying to do. So we definitely would like to work with more folks and more people here in the community. But yeah, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Well, thank you so much. Very excited about this. Questions for Mr. Alvarado. So you're going to leave a couple of those there. And make sure that that will be part of the record here, and great opportunity to share what's going on. To Ms. Davis. And thank you for coming back and making sure that we keep this top of mind. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, perfect. And then I'll also share again on the social media to all you folks as well, just so you can have it as well.
Perfect. All right. Thank you
Cool.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Omar.
All right. Next, I've signed up Sandra Kellogg about house issue, frequent car wrecks, and I believe you provided a picture that we have here on the dais for us to refer to.
Hi, Mayor Clark and City Council members. My name is Sandy Kellogg, and I am here asking for your help. You have all driven past my house as I live at 1625 Shamawa Road Northeast. My house is the yellow two-story that is on the right if you are coming from Kaiser Station towards Verda. We have lived in this house since the summer of 2015. My house is the house that if you miss the gentle left-hand curve, you will drive straight into my yard. I have brought photos of the numerous accidents that have either driven through my yard or ended up in my yard. The first two photos, top left, your photos that I gave you aren't as good as my board, but I will give you my board when we're done. The first two photos on the top left happened November 17th. However, what I do not have is a picture of the accident that happened before the first two photos. It ended up with the removal of our neighbor's tree. You can see the stump he left to help protect his camper and his house. The tree accident was a car that drove through the edge of our lawn, over our small planting berm, and between his tree and the pole, the power pole. The tree received enough damage causing it to have to be removed. So back to the first two photos, which was from a car that obviously took out our garbage cans. The next two photos happened March of 2020. This accident went through our yard, took out the telephone pole, and then ended up in the back of the house across the street from us. I understand that this accident is the one that helped the city to decide to put in the boulders along the fence line across the street just recently. Initially, after this accident, we also decided to put in boulders, a bigger boulder on the corner of our driveway, and another one on the opposite corner of our front yard. The next set of pictures, bottom left, occurred June 2020, just a couple of months later. The new boulder did its job, enabling the vehicle from continued travel. Previously, cars could continue travel past our yard, causing additional damage or never to be caught. The last two pictures, bottom right, is the accident that occurred Friday night, August the 13th. The last one was the most horrific. The driver reported to have fallen asleep at the wheel. I do not know the speed of travel, but it was fast enough to catapult his car into the air, flipping it onto his side after hitting our large birch tree. You can see in the photos, there's a big piece of bark missing from the tree, but what you can't see is a few feet higher than that is the driver's side rear brake light embedded in the bark.
Oh my God.
In the car was the driver, his wife, and their 3-year-old son. All were transferred to the hospital to be checked out, and I do not know the result of their injuries. This by far was the scariest accident. They could have died. However, if he had not hit my boulder, he would have hit the tree head on, or worse yet, went through the house next to us. We actually have another accident before this one. However, this time the driver hit the boulder on the opposite side of our yard, drove through our neighbor's side yard, and then became disabled by the fire hydrant there on the corner of Arcade. They obviously got the car, but I do not believe they caught the driver. They found the car. He tried to drive it away and couldn't get very far. In total, that is 6 accidents in 6 years. The boulders are doing their job. What we believe, we need to put in a bigger boulder on the driveway to prevent cars from getting into the yard. We fear our lives when we are playing in the yard with our granddaughter or even mowing the lawn. After the last accident, my husband was running the mower to pick up the glass that was left behind around the tree. And as he was coming around, he watched a car drift towards our yard and then suddenly swerve back into the road. This is a normal, everyday occurrence for us. We have Green Acres scheduled again to come and fix our yard, to do a bid and then fix our yard. And I'm asking the city if you would work with us to hopefully put in more boulders or some idea of how to prevent this from happening. I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions.
First of all, thank you for coming, and I am very thankful you are safe. Mr. Hare, Mr. Lawyer, would you please work with her on solutions for the safety of her yard, please?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to ask if you had already talked to anybody to go out and look at it. You know, every time a situation like that happens, it reminds me of a place I used to live. And I always think of, what if that was my yard or my house? What would I, you know, I put myself in your shoes, sort of. And there's got to be a solution for this. It's just, and I'm sure we'll figure it out. There's
Right.
got to be something. This is not.
The scary part is that on our side of the street, we don't have a sidewalk. So if we go to take our granddaughter out, she has a bicycle. I haven't even taken her on the bicycle.
And I know that
because-
area pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. I walk that pathway all the time, my backside neighborhood, and as you're coming around and walking towards the house, you just have to really keep your eye on the traffic. It's amazing, you know, people are just not paying attention.
Thank you for coming and bringing it to our attention. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So I know that will be followed up on, absolutely. And also if you could look at not just her yard, but that corridor for safety projects that need to be completed in your usual, very timely fashion. Thank you.
Would you like my board?
Would you please leave that with Ms. Davis for the record? And that way, also, Mr. Lawyer, and then your contact information. I have it here. What I don't have is your phone number. So if you could write all that down, make sure that Ms. Davis has all your contact information.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. She'll collect us afterwards, yes. All right. Okay, get this solved. Anyone else for public testimony this evening? I have no one else signed up. Going once, going twice. All right, then let's go ahead to item 7A, which is a public hearing for the resolution forming Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Improvement District and spreading assessments to Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Local Improvement District. The public hearing is now open. Interim City Manager, Mr. Hare.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is not the first time this has come. Sorry. Normally, I've never been entrusted with having to turn on electronic devices in order to speak before, so it's going to take me a while to get used to it.
It comes as other duties as assigned.
Right. And I'll turn this over to our city attorney, who I believe has some history, but as I said, this has been before you in the past, and this is just the culmination of.
I don't have the staff report on this. I think that was Tracy's.
Okay.
Here.
Oh, you don't have it?
I mean, I
Let me go
have it
into
here.
my
It's a standard
Street
public
lighting
hearing
district.
for street lighting district.
Okay.
So do you want me to just go ahead and do it, Tracy? Okay, well, we've had these in the past as a public hearing for forming and spreading the assessments. There's a couple of steps in the process. On June 21st, the council adopted the resolution initiating the street lighting district, and the city engineer then makes a survey of it. That's been accomplished, and the city council approved the city engineer's report and then set a public hearing to consider remonstrances or objections to that, and that's the purpose of the meeting tonight. I won't go through the fiscal impact there. This is something that we routinely do, and we have actually over 200 street lighting districts in the city. The city initially pays the street lighting expense, and then it's billed throughout the year we're billed for that, and then it's a pass-through, if you will. We get reimbursed by the property owners. So the recommendation is to open the hearing to consider any objections, and if there's valid remonstrances or objections of 2/3 of the area especially assessed, then you have to close the hearing and suspend the formation. If there are not that number of remonstrances received, you close the public hearing, and the recommendation is to consider adopting the resolution that forms the street lighting district. If that lighting district is formed, then the next step is the attached ordinance. So there's two steps there. First, after the public hearing, if there's no questions or objections, the resolution, and then after that, the ordinance to spread those assessments. So this standard process for street lighting districts.
All right, are there any questions on the staff report? Okay, I don't have anybody signed up for the public hearing this evening on the Aubrey Glen Street Lighting District. Is there anyone here who would like to address council on this matter? Seeing none, council, are there any additional pieces of information that you need prior to closing the public hearing? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilor Reed, the first resolution, please.
I propose that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2021, forming Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Improvement District.
Second.
Oh, you have to move. You said propose.
I said adopt.
Move.
Move?
Propose, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So,
I
move
move
that. There you go.
that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2021, forming Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Improvement District.
Second the adoption.
All right, you can kick them under the table. All right, it's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2021, forming Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Improvement District. Any discussion about this? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that's Councilor Smith. Okay, Councilor Reed.
I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Ordinance R 2021, spreading assessments to Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Local Improvement District.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt ordinance number 2021, an ordinance spreading assessments to Aubrey Glen Street Lighting Local Improvement District. Discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, Councilor Smith. All right, that concludes our public hearings for this evening. That takes us to administrative action. And item 8A, which is a resolution authorizing, before we do that, I just skipped something. So my apologies. Under public testimony, public comments, it is part of what we do is to acknowledge written comment. We do have one here that was received on August 16th from Jane Herb, resident of Kaiser, subject resolution request against unconstitutional mandates. So that is here for your consideration and for that input, okay? I'll make sure that is part of the record. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled program. Item 8A, which is resolution authorizing the city manager to enter an agreement with Prothman Company. Interim city manager, to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our city attorney did such a masterful job of extemporaneous speaking on the last one, we're going to turn this over to him. I do apologize for that. I sort of caught him off guard, but I think he's prepared for this one. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Wes. Madam Mayor and Council, this matter before the council is for approving the contract for the executive search firm. Is this on?
Nope, try again. Now you are.
Hello.
There you go.
I'll get a little closer. This is before you for approving the contract for the executive search firm for the permanent city manager. And I know Councilor Day had some concerns that he expressed last week that I went over in an email, and then I talked to him by phone, and I'll let him speak to most of those, but I did want to comment on a couple of things that I appreciate his catching. We had not, when he sent that last week, had not checked with the Secretary of State's office. So there's two issues. One is the name of the company. And Councilor Day is correct. The name of the company should be the Greg Prothman Company. We contacted the company. They said they do a DBA or doing business as name, but Councilor Day is correct. That's not appropriate. So we sent them a new contract with the proper name, and they immediately signed it and returned it today. And so before you have a substitute resolution. And the resolution has the correct name in the title, and then the contract has the correct name. So I appreciate Councilor Day doing that. We would have caught that and made that change, but we hadn't yet done that. The second issue is registering with the Secretary of State or being authorized to do business in Oregon. The RFP, or the request for proposals, doesn't use that exact term, but it says you need to be legally qualified in Oregon. And I would agree with Councilor Day that would include being registered as, quote, authorized to do business as what's called a foreign corporation. most people wouldn't think of a company that's in Washington state like this as being foreign, but the name foreign corporation in Oregon means anything outside of Oregon. So an outside company, unless it falls into a narrow exception, needs to be authorized to do business. I've contacted the Prothman Company. I think they're working on that, although I wasn't able to hear back late today. We will not be signing the contract with them until we've checked that they have done that or have a valid exemption, which I don't think that they would have. So those are the two issues I would address. I think Councilor Day may have some other issues, but the resolution takes care of the name, and the contract takes care of that part of it. And as I said, we won't have the city manager sign the contract unless the registration is taken care of. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Just a couple of things, and then I'll go to you, Councilor Herrera. So for folks who are watching, RFP is a request for proposals. This was sent out, it was publicly advertised for organizations that do professional recruitment to submit a proposal on how they would meet the criteria that we set forth in our solicitation to procure these services. Some people have asked why we use a recruiting company for this level of service. It makes sense because you don't want employees hiring their own boss on a practical matter, but also when you are doing a top-level recruitment, you also want to have the largest reach that you can, and this is done by cities our size and larger within this general area, but this has also been the experience of other organizations such as the Willamette Valley Council of Governments, the community college, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a common practice in the top level or department head recruitments. And we have done that before. When we were recruiting for our public works director and our police chief, these were not in-house, these were professional recruitments or larger scale recruitments. I think, did we run those in-house? You ran those in-house. But this is not something that you have the bandwidth to run in-house. Actually, that might be a good thing for folks to know. Ms. DePina, to run a recruitment like this versus doing a department head, what kind of level of time commitment would that involve?
I would anticipate the time commitment would be at least twice as much and over months, and so it would be a good portion of the work that I would be doing in, of course, meaning I'm not doing my regular job. When I do a recruitment for a department head level, that is a significant amount of time, but as you had previously mentioned, it's a little bit different because I'm not hiring my boss when I'm performing those duties. Having a third-party recruiter, an executive recruiter, makes a lot of sense for the head of the organization, and it's typical not only for municipalities, but the state of Oregon does the same, counties do the same, so I think it's appropriate.
All right. Thank you very much. The other thing that folks who are reading through the packet may want to know, that this is an open and competitive process. And then it talks about a selection committee. The word committee is loose. There were people who were selected to grade the proposals. So what is typically done is people are given the RFP and the proposals, and they are graded based on the response to the procurement. So this is not a committee that meets and talks about it. Actually, you're not supposed to talk to each other. You grade them independently. So you have three different, in this case, and sometimes you have groups of 5 that all look at the proposal, grade it, turn it into a separate person to tally them, and then rank them accordingly. A second ranking was then done when the cost proposals were received. So under public procurement, you have to look at the qualifications and the services separate from the cost. And then that was done separately, and then the scores combined. So that's how we got to this particular selection that we're bringing forth to council. So people who have done RFP processes, I want them to, they probably recognize this, but not everybody has. So I wanted to make sure that was out there. That's how we got to where we are right now. And I'm going to go, Councilor Herrera had a question, and then I'll go to you, Councilor Day.
Just a quick observation. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, on this agreement between the, this is pretty much directed at Council Shannon there. The agreement between the Greg Prothman Company and the City Kaiser, is this a template you use or this whole information, the agreement written? Do you guys, I noticed that some of the language in there is like under provide obligations, they talk about the encouragement of target businesses, what they call target businesses. And they describe the minority owned and disadvantaged. The word disadvantaged to me should be like underserved. But anyway, I was wondering who writes this. Is this it's something that you guys write?
So are you talking about the personal services agreement?
Yeah,
Or the RFP?
The personal service agreement.
Okay. Do you remember where that is, Councilor Herrera?
Yeah, it's 1.5 under provider. And it's not a big deal, but I was wondering if it was not updated language because of the fact that the word disadvantaged is used instead of underserved. I was just curious.
Oh,
It caught my eye.
so that section, and to answer your question, this was a template, and I'm
Right,
not
that's what I thought.
certain. It may have been a template from Gresham. It may have been from Gresham, you're thinking. But Michelle and I worked on it quite a bit, both the RP and as well as the agreement. That language is taken directly from the language that the state uses. So we didn't choose it.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you can see it has capitalized. It's the disadvantaged, minority-owned, women-owned, and emerging small businesses,
Yeah.
et cetera. And so we kind of were required to use that language because that's the language that the state used.
The reason I ask is that in the judicial things that we operate on as a commissioner, we've changed a lot of the disadvantaged word to underserved. And that's why I brought it up. And so maybe it's not updated, but maybe it is. So I was curious. By the way, I do believe in having a service for this process. So I'd really like that. So thank you very much for your work, Shannon.
All right. And yeah, MWSB, minority women-owned, emerging small business. This is, there's also a service through Business Oregon, COBID, which is the certification office for businesses, business equity and inclusion. And that's where businesses can sign up to qualify as a, disadvantaged business for reporting and also for recruiting. So this is statewide. Councilor Day.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This process, to the extent it's really even a process, has unbelievably frustrated me. We've been left out as city councilors now in two steps of the process. First, with the selection of the interim city manager, we were told this is the guy we're selecting, not something that the city council is responsible for, but the person who answers directly to the city council. That was taken out of our hands. Now, apparently, a committee of 3 people, the mayor and 2 department heads, are telling us that this is the company that we have to hire. I'd point out to you, Madam Mayor, we talked this morning, you mentioned that there was only 3. I'd point out to you, the RFP says a committee of 5. There was only 3. So we didn't even follow the process that's in the RFP. Page 11 of the RFP. So
I'm going to press pause.
Yeah.
We have an answer.
Well, I talked to Councilor Day earlier today, and I pointed out that was a typo. It was supposed to be 5, and I was supposed to be 3, and it just didn't get changed.
It says 5.
It says 5.
It says 5, and
yes,
you
but
only used 3.
We did use 3.
It also says that we can change the makeup of the committee.
And who gets to make that change? It should be the city council, but apparently it's being made by the people who are not supposed to be hiring their own boss. We've been left out of the process. And then we're told, don't worry, you're going to be a part of the process. Well, let's look at the facts. We were left out of the selection of the interim city manager. We're left out of the selection of the company. Why? No rational, reasonable person would then assume, oh, but this time they mean it. But as far as the Prothman company goes, I'm going to be voting no. I have here the Secretary of State's business registry for the Prothman company, 8/16/2021 at 5:01 p.m. they are still inactive. Or actually, they're not even active. They've had it literally says, administratively revoked their authority to do business in the state. The date, August 24th, 2012. They haven't been authorized to do business in the state for 9 years. A foreign corporation may not transact business in this state until it has been authorized to do so by the Secretary of State, ORS 60.701 sub 1. Secretary of State may revoke a foreign corporation's authority to conduct business in the state of Oregon for, among other things, failure to file an annual report with the Secretary of State or fail to file fees required by Oregon law, ORS 60.737 sub 1 and sub 2. The authority of a foreign corporation to transact business in this state ceases as of the date of revocation of its authority to transact business in Oregon, ORS 60.741 sub 3. This company, which purports to be an expert in all this stuff, can't even get something as simple as registering their business with the state of Oregon. They have no authority. They cannot do this. Moreover, they have been doing it. They admit they've been doing this for the last few years. Our job is to adhere to and obey the law. The law says we can't enter into a contract. Now, I know what Shannon's going to tell us. He's going to say, look, we just won't sign the contract till they get it fixed. I've got two responses to that. That means that we have, well, actually, that they can stall this process for as long as they want to by simply not getting getting their registration updated. Actually, I have three responses, sorry. Number two, just so everybody is aware out there, I'm not just springing this on people today. I got the council packet Wednesday night. I read it. I sent an email. I believe it was I got it right here actually, at 9:53 a.m. on the 12th, saying we've got big problems, and here are the problems. Okay, so I'm going to assume that those problems were communicated at some point to Prothman Company because they corrected the name on the contract. They've known about this for 5 days and they still haven't fixed this. What else are they going to drop? Every part of this, I have a real problem with this. So I'm happy to share that email with anyone else who wants to see it. But I asked about references, why there's nothing in the references or in the staff report that talks about the references. I got 3 different answers from 3 different people. What about background checks? That kind of stuff. So I'll be voting no on this. This process, it is not one person or a small clique of people's decision to make. It's the 7 people who have been elected to represent the citizens of Kaiser. I will also say, I went back in the minutes and looked, and that's the only reason why it took me till 10 o'clock on the 12th, because I did the research to make sure I wasn't wrong on this. But we never authorized a specific committee to make this decision or any decision. So I understand it was in the RFP. We didn't even follow the RFP because it says 5. So I'll be voting no, and I think we all should. And I think we should just start over because this just feels like somebody has lost the attention to detail. I mean, this is not that difficult, but apparently it shouldn't be. I'm done.
All right, thank you. There's a series of questions here, so I think we probably should tackle them one at a time. One is on the business registration. And I think that that question's been answered as in they have been informed. When were they informed that that would need to be taken care of?
That they were not informed until today. I was out last week, and I did not see the email until Friday when I was out of town, and so we informed them of that today. And also the name change, and they immediately corrected that, so.
So, Madam Mayor, if I may respond, please. I actually sent that email to Mr. Hare, City Attorney, the Mayor, and Council President Smith.
Yes.
Somebody should, if nobody contacted them until today, they immediately fixed the contract. Why haven't they immediately fixed this?
Thank you. I understand the question, but when you're doing a procurement, you have one point of contact with the company during the negotiation. That's in order to make sure you have only one person or one point of contact, so you don't end up with multiple answers. So, and this is being conducted through our city attorney's office, but your point is taken. Number 2, on references, can you answer the question on reference check, please? On,
Yes, we had a couple of references. I'm not sure, do you have that handy or by memory? I can't remember which the cities were. They were informal references. I think there was West Lynn and another city that indicated that they were satisfied with their, with the Prothman Company's handling of it.
so can we get the list of the cities that you did contact just to confirm the reference check on those, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The next question I heard, and this is probably taken out of order, had to do with the 5 versus 3. Typo notwithstanding, if that's what it said in the RFP, was that something that changes the nature of the procurement process at that step?
No. I mean, the section that Councilor Day is referring to talks about the evaluation. It says that there'll be a selection committee of 5 members, and then it says the mayor, the human resources director, and the finance director. What had happened on it is the template had 5 on it. We went over internally to determine what's an appropriate selection committee. It was determined that it made really finding 5 people to do it, and we've had 3 and we've had 5 on RFPs before. That it made sense to do this as 3, and so we changed it. It did say 5 members, blank, 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 blank. And so we changed it to, and put in the titles of the 3, but the 5 didn't get changed to a 3. It doesn't change the validity of the RFP, it doesn't change the validity of the process. It says the makeup of the committee can be changed, so I don't see that as an issue.
Stand by. So, if a company were to protest saying that their scoring may have been changed had there been 5 versus 3, did we receive any protests from the other 2 applicants?
No, we didn't receive protests.
And when were they informed that they were not the ones selected?
I don't have that exact date, Madam Mayor. It was probably about 3 weeks ago,
Okay.
maybe 2.
So this would mostly then impact the other 2 applicants, proposers. If they chose to protest the selection process, they would be the ones to launch an objection.
Right, I think that time has passed, though. We typically wouldn't bring it to council until after that time has passed.
It's usually about, if I remember correctly, about
It's only
7 to 10
days, I believe.
Is it 7?
Protest period, yeah.
Okay, so that's a protest period for the proposers, the
Correct.
non-selected proposers.
Were they told, Mr. Shannon, were they told, or Mr. Johnson, were they told that only 3 people were on the committee and not 5?
If you're saying after the notice of intent to award went out, that we included that fact, no.
Okay, so,
But did they,
Yeah,
I'm gonna follow up, though.
I would assume that if somebody was reading the RFP, they would have noted the disconnect between the word 5 members and then listed 3.
But here's the other piece. Were they sent the spreadsheet with
The score sheets, if they requested them,
So they
they're
could
not
request
automatically sent, no. And I don't recall, I think we did get 1 request, but I don't recall for certain, so.
one request for the score sheets?
Pardon?
One request for the score sheets?
Yes, but I don't hold me to that. I'm not, it may have been the
Michelle,
newspaper rather
Mr. Pina
than.
knows.
I could respond to that. I recall that there was one requester. It was not one of the three that actually met the RFP requirements, and it was a requester that asked for information about the successful selected entities so they could be better at future RFPs.
Okay.
So, if I may, Madam Mayor, so you could, the two other people could have scored one higher than the other. I've seen the scores, I don't know if anyone else has, but the scores were pretty close. Two other people could have scored one higher than the other. But the bigger point is this. I mean, we're trying to make excuses for how this process has come about. We're trying to say, oh, well, the city manager just doesn't have to sign the contract until they get it fixed. What if they never get it fixed? Then what?
Okay, let's
No,
ask that question though, because.
I'd like to finish my statement. What if they never get it fixed? Well, here's an idea. Make them go get it fixed and then resubmit another RFP. Let's do this the right way, the way it's supposed to be done, not come up with all these. I mean, this is such, with all due respect, shoddy work. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. And it hasn't been done open and transparent in what we were promised. It hasn't been. I had no idea we had a committee of 3 people, the mayor and 2 other department heads, who were gonna make this decision for us. Especially after the objections I raised when we were presented with our only choice for interim city manager. I mean, none of us have been included in that. It's not one person's decision. It's 7.
Well, I would understand the.
Well, I don't think you do.
The RFP was provided to everyone on council. And so we could all see what was in that, what we were asking the proposers to bring to us. So.
And it had 5 people.
I do not disagree with you there.
And we didn't follow the process.
I don't disagree that there should have been 5 if it said 5. I don't disagree with that. However, the other issue is what we can do is we can table this until the company comes back with their registration. And we can also check with the second place company. Are they registered in the state of Oregon? Do you
We
know?
haven't checked that yet. I would suggest, Madam Mayor, not getting into discussion about that part of it in open session.
Understood.
If the council, the idea that I had in talking to Councilor Day today and my presentation tonight was very simple. This has happened before, as I pointed out in my email. We've had proposers that just have let them lapse. And we say, look, you got to get signed back up with the state, and they do it. It's really not all that burdensome. There is a fee involved, and so they do it. I think that it'd be appropriate to go ahead and pass the resolution, and as I said, we won't sign it. On the other hand, if the council's not comfortable with that, we can certainly just table it for 2 weeks, and we'll get this resolved and bring it back, and you can do the resolution then. We just wanted to get the process moving, obviously. At this stage, 2 weeks is, it's not a significant delay. Is this the 3? Okay, so it's 3 weeks. We have a 5 Monday, August. So
We do.
If the council wishes to do it that way, that's certainly fine.
Well, this would push it to September.
September 7th.
And it would also change the timeline in the contract with the company, because they have a timeline that's in the proposal. So that will have to be looked at, because everything will be pushed out for 3 weeks.
Correct.
Okay, because we want to make sure that they have the same amount of time for each of the stages for the recruitment that they had put in their proposal, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go to Councilor Duran and Councilor Herrera.
Okay, I have a problem with this a professional company not being registered in the state of Oregon for 9 years, and obviously they've been doing business because you have references. So I can't see working with a company that's kind of decided to, stay unregistered for that long. And I mean, this is their business. They should know that. They should know that they need to do that. As my business, I know I have to be registered in other states when I'm working in other states. I have to be registered in other cities when I work in other cities in Oregon, so I can pay their stupid taxes. So, but it's just frustrating that if it was a year lapse, I could give them that, but 9 years I can't. So I'm
Well, 1 year or 9, I'm just wondering how and it's a moot point because for the city of Kaiser, we want to make sure that they are registered, and how other jurisdictions conduct their procurements and their business arrangements is between them and the state. So I'm not going to get into that. But that is something that for the city of Kaiser, we want to make sure that happens. But if there's curiosity about how that happens in other jurisdictions, we can get that information, but I'm not sure it'd be terribly helpful. Councilor Duran, follow up?
Well, just they have to use a registered agent to be out of state, and a registered agent hounds you.
Yeah.
So they should have known many times that they were not registered, and they chose not to.
Just for the record, if I may, Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
their registered agent, the last one, was the, quote, City of Damascus in 2012.
Oh, there's a whole story right there.
Yeah, well, they don't exist anymore. They don't even exist anymore.
Well, that was the point, yes. For people who are watching who don't know, City of Damascus kind of came and tried and went. Can I go to Councilor Herrera up and then come to you, Mr. Johnson? Councilor Herrera, you had a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a bit confused on this. Are you telling me that the Prothman company met the RFP requirements? Is that, who made that decision? By the way, I didn't know anything about 3-person committee either.
Yeah.
And I did read the thing, by the way.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just another thing I'm left out of. That's what I thought,
Right.
Apparently I'm not alone today.
And, it depends on how much council wants to discuss the other details of Councilor Day's points in terms of involvement by the council. The council is typically not involved in bidding and competitive solicitation parts. If there's a concern at this part of it, then that's where you speak up, and that's what you're doing tonight, and that's fine.
I understand.
But back to your point, the registration by the company is usually checked by the winning one, and it normally would have been done a little bit sooner than this, but it's always done before we sign the contract. And we've had the situation before, and I agree with Councilor Duran. It's less than ideal. It's something they should keep up on. And I'm not making excuses for them. I will tell you what they told us, which is dealing with Lincoln City. They dealt with Lincoln City. They said that because they didn't have a physical office here, Lincoln City said they checked and you're right, and so you don't have to be registered. And so they took that advice from Lincoln City. I don't think that's accurate. I think they're wrong on that. And like I said, I'm not making excuses for them, but that was the reasoning. They also said they felt like they had to be registered when they had an employee here, which was back 9 years ago, but they don't have an employee here anymore, so they felt like they didn't have to be registered. Well, that's just incorrect. Again, and I'm not making excuses, that was the reasoning they gave me, but I just said to them, and I just didn't hear back yet today, I'm sure I will tomorrow, that I said, we always require our folks to be legally qualified. Is a broader term, but part of being legally qualified, in other words, if you're a contractor, you have to be with the CCB, for example, you have to be properly licensed. The other way to be you need to be legal qualified is authorized to do business with the Secretary of State Corporation Division. So I agree with Councilor Day, that needs to happen, and I anticipate it will be happening shortly. So it's up to council if you want to wait the extra 3 weeks, when we can certainly do that.
I've got a question from Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as I'm listening to this, there are a few pieces to this, and I don't want us to get mired in obstructionism and micromanagement in a process that has been established through other jurisdictions and through the League of Oregon Cities and so forth, and to stay focused on the critical details that do need to be ironed out, and to be able to again, keep our eye on the big picture, and keep our eye on the fact that our ultimate goal in this is to be able to recruit the best city manager that we can, and that shouldn't be checked at every little junction. So I guess that's just my point, is keep an eye on the big picture. Do figure out, trust in our legal advice from our city attorney to be able to know what's important and know how the process is run, and be able to make those corrections as needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This contract is to hire a company to recruit, not to hire the city manager, which I understand. But my bigger question is, why should we trust a company who can't comply with the state law and has proven that they haven't for 9 years?
Mr. Hare.
I guess it's appropriate for me to talk. This RFP went out before I came here. I think the review was underway before I got here. So I don't really have a stake in what decision you make. One thing I would really emphasize is that you weren't presented with a fait accompli tonight. You were presented with a choice. Do we want to approve this contract or not? And you have your own criteria, each of you does, that says, yes, we think they're okay, or no, we think they're not. And based on that, you'll make a choice. As to the issue of Prothman not being registered in the state, well, I did a brief check of the major recruitment firms that I know cities have been using around the state for the past number of years, and most of them aren't. At least most of the ones that I'm familiar with are not registered in the state. I don't know what their argument is about why they feel they should not be registered in the state. Perhaps they believe they're involved in interstate commerce. I don't know. That is one of the exemptions under the Oregon law. I guess my point is that, and believe me, I'm completely neutral on what firm you use, other than that I think you should use a firm that has an established record and one that has been able to serve other jurisdictions in the past. And I think there's probably any number of them that could do that. As to the allegation that this was shoddy staff work on the part of the city attorney, I would disagree with that just based on what I've seen. I mean, I think it's a pretty normal process. It's pretty normal to have to have some kind of a review process independent of the city council before you make a decision about selecting a contractor through an RFP process or through a bid process. I'm not familiar with any city council that would weigh in on bids, for example. That's usually an administrative task and one that's taken care of by staff. So again, I just sort of giving you some random thoughts that I have in response to this. And you have the ability tonight to say, no, we're not really satisfied with what we've seen. We want to see more. We want to change the process. Bearing in mind that all you're doing is delaying the decision, ultimate decision on when you will have a permanent city manager.
Thank you very much. From what I've heard this evening, we've got 2 decision points. One is whether or not we are ready to proceed tonight. And 2 would be, if we are not ready to proceed tonight, what additional information would be helpful for the council to be able to make a decision at the first meeting in September.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
I'm going to go to, really quickly, Councilor Reed's hand opened up, and then I'll come to you, Councilor Day.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess my question, I'm not entirely sure who to direct this to, perhaps Ms. Sapina, as far as how many recruitment firms of this ilk are there available? Are we, you know, we got 3 RFPs and one that didn't quite meet the RFP, but, you know, are we looking at a very shallow pool here? And if so, how does that influence our decision?
Based on my research, talking to my peers who have recently done recruitments at the city manager level over the last few years, there's perhaps a half dozen organizations that are well regarded and have that experience. At any time that you put out an RFP, you do not know which of those firms will express interest or have the wherewithal to help us out. I can tell you, for example, that one firm that we were interested in and hoping would apply was not able to because they didn't have the bandwidth because of recruitments that were going on at the time. So there is the potential that there are a couple more firms out there, but whether or not they would be available and interested in our recruitment, if, for example, we were to do another RFP, we do not know. And we also don't know if the ones who have already applied would be available at a future date. They applied based on their availability at the time that we put out the RFP.
Okay, so just to clarify, that's 6 nationwide.
I'm saying that there are about 6 that I am aware of, about a half dozen I am aware of that have the experience of doing, recent experience of doing city manager level recruitments in Oregon. That doesn't mean that there aren't other firms out there nationwide that can do this work. But the preference that was expressed by the council was folks who have experience recruiting in Oregon. So when I went out to check with my peers, that's what I was looking for, is that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Who was next? Councilor Day, thank you.
First of all, Mr. Hare, I didn't say that it was shoddy work on behalf of our city attorney, so I'd appreciate if you wouldn't put words in my mouth. I never said that. I said it was shoddy work because the RFP says that that they're supposed to be legally qualified, which means that whoever reviewed these RFPs didn't pick up what I picked up in 5 minutes. So I don't know who that was because we're not part of the selection committee. So we don't know what happened. So now that's thing one. Thing two is, again, to something Mr. Harris said, well, this is most of the time city councils aren't involved in the bid process. Mm-hmm. Well, then why do we have a resolution before us? Why are we being asked to do this? Well, there's a pretty simple answer to that, in my opinion, and that is because the city manager is one of 2 people that is hired by the city council. 3, pardon me. Okay? And so it only makes sense that we would be involved in every step of the process. Who are we going to hire? Who are we going to hire as the interim city councilor, city manager? Who are we going to hire to help us find the next city manager? And then hiring the actual city manager. Well, the first 2 steps we've been left out of. And that's an undeniable fact. That is irrefutable. How do I know that we're not going to be left out of the next process? Because based on what has happened so far, we have been. And that again, undeniable fact. So this is so frustrating to me that we're having this conversation again. And I can only expect that we're probably going to have it again, which is unfortunate because what should happen here is the proposals should have been sent to every city councilor as well as whatever department heads need to see it. We should have all been asked to score it. And then we should have combined those and figured out who everybody thought was the best firms. Don't tell me that we don't do a bunch, we don't have more than 5 or whatever, because we just heard Mr. Lawyer come up here earlier and testify that he's one of 2 just from the Parks Board that were put on an RFP selection committee. So I know that's something that we do in this city. So it just feels to me like this is a predetermined outcome that's been decided outside the public view, and I have a real problem with that. We promised the public that we're gonna do this in an open and transparent way, and the first 2 steps haven't been done that way. And that's an irrefutable, undeniable fact.
So I'm gonna press pause here. I'm gonna go back to the question I just asked. We have 2 decisions before us tonight. One is whether to move forward with the contract that has been presented with the caveat for the registration as an agent of the state of Oregon. And the second question is predicated on the first. If we are not, what information is necessary for the council to consider this contract in September? Or do we want to look at going at the next company, the number 2? Is there a reason to reject this one and go to the number 2 one on the list, which was also very closely scored? So that's a couple of, I guess that's the third one, so I'm gonna add one more. So that's our decision points at this point tonight. The consensus I'm getting, and I could be wrong, and we could go for a vote, is that we are not ready to adopt this tonight. By and large. So unless we want to put a motion on the table to vote on this contract, that we just go ahead and table this for September. I don't know if the word table is appropriate because I could be setting myself up for something in Robert's rules that I don't mean. So I'm going to pull that word back. Not to move forward with this at this time. So my question to council is, if we are to proceed with this contract, what information do you need in order to make an informed decision in September on this particular contract? Councilor Duran.
Probably my only thing is, if for some reason this level of services does not need to be registered, that would make a decision for me. If they don't, then they really haven't done anything wrong in 9 years. And if they do, then, it's frustrating to me, that they're not following the rules. So that would be my first question, is if they're, that whole thing would go away if they don't necessarily need to be as a professional provider in their capacity.
Okay. That would clarify this question on a number of levels. What Mr. Johnson was referring to in interstate commerce. And I am not going to pretend I know what the answer is there. So that would help clarify this for you.
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Reed.
I don't see a problem with the process, and what Councilor Day has called irrefutable facts, I would refute in terms of the established process. But I think that, if we are going to approach this, in a 7-person sort of committee with every single one of us weighing in at every single step of the process, I think that's going to really belabor what we're doing here, and it will draw it out longer than it needs to be. And I think that we need to be able to respect each other and our professionalism and our knowledge of the process, and be able to look at those recommendations on their, I guess, procedural merit rather than their technical merits.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Herrera.
Honestly, I didn't, when Councilor Day brought that up, I started thinking about this, and I don't even know how we got here. I mean, if they didn't meet the RFP requirements, I don't understand how we got here. I just don't get that. And I would prefer table it and then too. And I don't look at it as a micromanagement. I think that people have responsibilities and you trust them depending on who the people are. I don't think I'm used to being left out, but I don't feel like I'm left out of this one as much. This is one minor one, but to me, the biggest thing is who we pick for our city manager. That will set the tone for which direction Kaiser will be going. And that's what I did listen to what Councilor Duran said about, I mean, he's a businessman and that carries some weight to me when you say that you can't do this, and how could they not even register unless there's a reason? I'm not educated on that part, but I want to do it right. I would like to see do it right without, so if you table it, I'm fine with that. That's
Or whatever the proper non-Robert's Rules of Order.
I'm sorry?
Whatever the proper non-Robert's Rules of Order term is, to wait till next time,
Gotcha.
right?
Yes.
Because if I say table, then I'm going to get myself in trouble.
Well.
Maybe you know the rules better than I do.
I got it.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. And I understand the process, we want to get it going, but you got to get it going right, I think. I don't know, we'll see. I don't believe that those are the only 6, that's my opinion, companies, so that's where I'm at.
Okay. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I take exception to say we leave you out on stuff because we go way, way out of hand, way to make sure that you're included in everything. So anyway, that's another story. I think that we're looking to hire a company to recruit someone, and I think that if we can do that with 3 people, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but we need to say that. And then the other is, I agree with Councilor Duran, if it's found that they don't need to register, then I think we should move forward. But that is a big question for me. I mean, I have to have business licenses where I go. I have to have licenses in 3 states, and if I don't pay them, I can't work there. So that is a big question for me. But in regards to hiring a city manager, I think that we all have to be at the table to do that. To hire a company to do the recruitment, I'm not sure about that. But I do want to know about the legal status.
Okay. Councilor Day.
So this is an area of the law I do practice in. I set up and help companies follow corporate formalities all the time. I know it's chapter 60 of the Oregon Revised Statutes. It's this chapter that regulates business organizations. That's what it's called. And I can tell you this, I'll just tell you what my knowledge is. I don't know what anyone else learned, but my knowledge is that what that interstate commerce applies to is if, for instance, you're brewing beer in Washington, and you're transporting it to Oregon, that's interstate commerce. What I can tell you is this, I'm licensed to practice law in Washington as well. I have to have a registered agent there as just a licensee of the Washington State Bar. My firm is not registered to do business in Washington as a foreign business corporation because I don't do business in Washington. But if I did, as an attorney, I would have to register my company as a foreign business corporation. It does not fall within the interstate commerce exception. So I can tell you with 99% certainty that exemption under the Foreign Business Corporation, I feel very confident that that's not going to exempt. They obviously thought they needed to at one point, and they did it for 6 years. So, but with all that being said, those are technicalities, and we can wait for from Mr. Johnson's opinion on it. I disagree with the characterization that this is micromanagement or anything of that nature. What this is it's a harbinger of things to come, is how I feel. Because this in my world is such a basic thing that, and I understand my world, lawyers don't live in the real world. I get that. But in my world, this is such a basic thing, and to not have it done, it's just mind-blowing to me. It's just mind-blowing. It's literally like 2 or 3 clicks to renew it on the computer and pay $100, and there you go. So I think what we ought to do, we ought to, whatever you want to call it, not do anything, whatever, ignore it, turn your head, whatever. And I think what we ought to do, the information to answer your other question, Madam Mayor, is were references checked for all of the RFPs? And if so, what were the responses? Okay, if not, why weren't references checked? Was a background check, social media search and everything else, because, you hire somebody, find out he's this or that, or she's this or that. And
So can I press pause real quick on that one?
sure,
Because of the time involved in that is after you have a top-ranked one, that's when that next phase of looking into the references and so forth happens.
not of city manager candidates, I meant of the companies.
That's what I'm talking about. So when you're doing an RFP process, once you've ranked, then you start that next phase of investigation.
Okay, was that done?
And that's the information we're going to get back from
Okay.
Ms.
So-
DePena. I see her writing madly over there.
I'd like to know if a background check and, I think they call it now an internet publication search, if that was done, and if so, what were the results? I don't think that's asking too much. And if it was done, if the references were checked and the background checked, I want to know why it wasn't in the staff report. Because it seems to me that's something we ought to be told about.
So that's why I'm asking this question. What will be helpful to the council in making this determination? So at this point, I think we've heard from everybody about what we will need for the next step and to be ready for this conversation, hopefully to conclude in September, at the first meeting in September, which is Tuesday, thank you, September 7th. And hang on just a sec. And then additional information that we have asked for that would help us with that. With the intent that if these things come back in the affirmative, to proceed with the number 1 pick based on the scores. Is that?
I'm not committing to anything, and I can only speak for myself, but I'm not committing to anything.
Well, at least get the information so we can make an informed decision.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hare, thank you for being patient with me, sir.
My question actually follows with what Councilor Day just said. My concern is that we can go out, we can come back with a bunch of information, and the decision is we don't like all this and we just need to do the RFP, in which case we've spent a lot of time only verifying that we're not going to go with this firm anyway. I mean, it would seem to me, and maybe I'm creating havoc here, but it might be simpler to just say, let's redo the RFP if you're completely dissatisfied with the process and with, the results of your first search. Or, and Shannon would have to, or excuse me, our city attorney would have to help me out with this. If there was a consensus that you didn't want to delay, is there support for the idea of simply going with your second pick? And could you do that and still follow contracting law?
That's a discussion I would not get into in open session, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Right, I got cautioned on that a few minutes ago. But that would be additional follow-up discussion and then follow-up to council on our options. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And another follow-up to Councilor Day. As I indicated earlier, and Councilor Day just raised recently, I would agree with him. I doubt very much that the company could qualify under that exemption of interstate commerce. I think they need to register. The other comment I was going to make is I think the staff has an idea where council's coming from and what kind of options you want to look at, and I will be prepared to share those with you between now and next meeting.
All right, thank you. Just one wrap-up thought. The city manager position is critical to the character as well as the operation of the city. While technically, procedurally, the city manager is one of 3 that reports to us as an employee, this is not necessarily just an employer-employee relationship. This is a relational city, a very relational community. And we are emotionally as well as professionally invested in this very important task. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness, the due diligence that each and every one of the council members and all of our staff, the entire staff is heavily invested in this decision. And we take it very, very seriously. We want very much to do the right thing, and we're going to belabor a point here and there. We're going to dive into the weeds once in a while, but that's okay. None of us was on council when Chris Epley was hired. That was a long time ago. He was with us a good long time. Why? Because the council then did a really, really good job in that selection. They picked someone who had the ability to lead the city through a lot of changes, a lot of growth. And I think that all of us want to make sure that we do the same. We select an individual who can come in as a team leader, who's going to make a difference for a good long time to come. And we want to make sure we do it right. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness. I appreciate the emotional and intellectual investment that's going into this. If we take a couple more weeks to make sure that we are comfortable with the direction we're going, I think that's a good investment in time. Okay? Do everybody have what they need for next steps? All right. We are now going to go then to the consent calendar. Councilor Reed.
Do we do polls after?
Yep.
Okay. I move that the Kaiser City.
No, hang, just read the items. I'm sorry. Just read the
okay,
two.
sorry.
Yeah.
So the consent calendar is item A is a resolution authorizing Public Works Director to sign amendment number 2 to Department of Corrections Inmate Work Program Agreement. And B, approval of the August 2nd, 2021 regular session minutes.
And we are pulling 9B.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody need to discuss 9A? Councilor Reed.
I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt the consent calendar item A, resolution authorizing Public Works Director to sign amendment number 2 to Department of Corrections Inmate Work Program Agreement.
Second.
Consent calendar 9A has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passed unanimously, 1 absent. 9B is pulled just for a minor correction. Ms. Davis, you identified that. It was at the bottom of page. I'd have to get back to that page in my packet.
It was one on the notes.
Thank you.
On the minutes, rather.
Yeah, on the minutes. Anyway, there was a reference to Mayor Christopher, which was a wonderful blast from the past.
Yeah.
What page was that on? Page 1 of the minutes, okay.
Under public comment.
It's under Carol's testimony.
Under Carol Roeffler.
Middle
Mayor Christopher,
paragraph.
yep, 4th line. So just change that to Clark. Okay,
Yes.
that's been changed. So this will be passed as amended.
Also, I was not there, so I was planning to abstain, in which case
Okay, you can
Yep.
you can move it, but abstain.
I can move and abstain.
I believe so.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank
go.
you. All right, I move that the Kaiser City Council approve the consent calendar. Item B, approval of the August 2nd, 2021 regular session minutes.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt item 9B as amended. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no, oh, and how many abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. Motion passed unanimously with one absent, Smith, and one abstention, Reed. All right, this takes us to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Hare, I believe you have an item for us tonight.
Yes, I believe you have received or have on your dais a request from the family of Lori Phillips to be able to use the community room for memorial service, and they're asking to waive the $400 fee and the $750 refundable security cleaning deposit. Apparently, there is precedent for the council's waiver of fees on the use of this room, and they would still be required to provide general liability policy for the event.
Thank you very much. Any questions on this request? This is for Lori Phillips. She's a former police department employee who passed away on August 10th. Questions or comments? Councilor Herrera?
I didn't mean to interrupt. I think Councilor Duran raised his hand first. No?
No, we good.
Well, I don't have no problem. I mean, Lori was, she was a good friend, and she did a lot of, as a former employee, I have no problem with, and being that there has been a president, I don't have no problem with this, and I think it's the proper thing and the right thing to do. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Other comments or questions? So as Mr. Ayers said, the insurance is not something we ever waive. And then while we would not be collecting a clean deposit, there would still be, in case there were incidentals and so forth, then that would be just charged later if necessary. Is that correct? Okay.
That is correct.
All right. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How many staff are involved from the city's perspective to have that service, and what does that really cost us?
The staff that will set up the room and be on hand during the service is one person. Our community center event coordinator will be on duty. So there's no extra cost. It'll be during her regular work hours.
That's yours?
That is mine, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Reed.
I move that the Kaiser City Council, are we adopting, or
Yeah.
waive the community center fee for the memorial service of Lori Phillips?
Excuse me, you need to suspend the rules.
Oh, quite right.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules to take up this matter. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously, one absent. Now, Councilor Reed.
Okay, so the verbiage the first time was okay?
Yes.
Okay. I move that the Kaiser City Council waive the community center fee for the memorial service of Lori Phillips.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council waive the community center fees for the memorial service for Lori Phillips. Further discussion. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does that mean that they would still need to do the general liability policy?
That is correct. Yeah. As outlined in the
Just want
in the staff request. That is correct. And as we just clarified with Ms. Davis, that if there were any incidental charges or costs, that they would incur those separately. They'd be billed out itemized rather than having a deposit that had to be refunded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously, one absent. Thank you all very much for that. Is there any other business that staff or council wishes to bring forward tonight? Let's go to staff updates then. Mr. Hare, do you want to take us around the room with staff?
Certainly, and I'm sure the city attorney is anxious.
Very, very anxious. Thank you. I have nothing further tonight. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Ms. DePino? No.
This is just me waiting patiently for ARPA money to come in.
And since our finance director is shy, we'll remind the council that on the 23rd, which I believe is next week, we will be having a work session on the subject of ARPA funds. And he's done a great job in preparing a presentation to sort of help guide that discussion.
Yeah, I have nothing tonight.
Nothing for me either, thank you.
Chief Teague?
Any questions or council for any of our department heads? I do have one, and I'm going to give Ms. Pina a chance to get this out there. We have a couple of open recruitments, don't we?
We do have 2 open recruitments in our environmental program department posted on the city webpage. I encourage folks to take a look at that. I think the close date is still quite a few weeks out. And there is a underfill option there. So even if candidates don't meet all of the requirements, if they're within a year of the experience needed, they should still apply.
Good to know. All right. Thank you, and thank you very much. Anyone else for staff members? All right, thank you very much. Council member reports. Councilor Duran, can we start with you tonight?
Sure. Make it quick. I've already talked more than my quota for the day. So the National Night Out was my first time riding. Well, I didn't get to ride with the police, but I had to follow them because of COVID. And they were on motorcycles, so that would have been awkward. But we had a good time. Councilor Day and I followed officers Leday, Powell, and Miranda on their motorcycles around, and we really had a good reception. The kids loved the motorcycles and there was a few adults that loved getting their picture taken on the motorcycles. So we had a good time, a good water fight, and that was a good time. So, and Keizer Fest last weekend was a hit. Everybody was a little bit worried about doing it this time of year. There were lots of festivals going on, but there were a lot of people out enjoying the community and being able to get out and meet each other at the festival. So that was awesome.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So since I missed the last meeting, I attended the GO 402 NIMS overview for senior officials, which is basically a 4-hour class on emergency preparedness. And basically what it did is it took the information that we got from the NIMS training that we all did as a council, and it applied it to our region. And then I was able to talk to Mr. Lawyer and get an idea of how that applied to us specifically. And so basically my takeaway from that is that emergencies are scary and that we don't have the kind of resources that we would like to devote to our preparation for emergencies, but Mr. Lawyer and company are in a good place to do the very best they can. And I guess we'll figure out in the future how we can improve that. But Mr. Lawyer has a good handle on that. And I appreciate also the expertise of our area and their willingness to share. We don't have a person directed or devoted to that kind of emergency preparedness, but Salem does and the county does. And so we have built those relationships to be able to take advantage of those resources as needed. And I appreciated learning a little bit more about that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was there is a team of 7 teachers from McNary that is undergoing equity certification from the Center for Equity and Inclusion. And it's a year-long process and then another year of instructing McNary teachers. But I'm really impressed with this process, and how devoted our local teachers are to this, and by extension, the community. You know, we understand the role that students play in the community and how critical that is, and to be able to understand equity and what that means for our community, or first of all, our school, and then community relations has been really important. And I've really appreciated the process thus far. We've had intensive classes last week and this week, and then we'll continue throughout this coming year. So again, I really appreciate the devotion of our McNary teachers and our commitment to that work.
World class.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also wanted to thank Police Chief, Fire Chief, and 11 cops, whoever came over to our National Night Out was very successful for the first time. We had over 50 people, and also our interim city manager was there, Wes, and it was very good. I mean, just the community. My neighborhood is great. They put up with me. So, also, I was a guest at the Mexican Fiesta in Woodburn, which my father actually one of the founding members in the 60s of that Fiesta in Woodburn, and there was like 20,000 people there. It was amazing. I was also on a panel with the Capaces leadership, where we discuss with future folks that are running for office. In fact, 3 of our graduates are now on the school board. So, we participated in that. Discussion related around elected officials of colors and some of the things we have to deal with and some of our obstacles. Also, I wanted to send a kudos to Ruben Salazar, a former soccer player from McNary, a Celtic, who's gone pro. And he's way back, I think it's New Hampshire or something, with some team. And boy, that kid did amazing things we go way back. And also that the Kaiser Fest weekend, it turns out I was involved in another service of my neighbor who passed away at the age of 49 of cancer, and I helped coordinate with my neighbor. And thank you, Bill, for your input and connection for the park situation. And I made sure that it was well done. I mean, kept right. It was held in our park, and it was a horrible thing, but it happened during the parade, the festival, and all the stuff. So I missed everything out, but it was something I had to do, and I was glad to do it. So, also, last but not least, I wanted to thank everybody for all your hard work and some of these decisions that are going on here. And I agree with the mayor as far as being thoughtful about it. And I think that I believe in the process, and I think we're going to get through this. And as far as the mask thing, I really. I'm a team player. Like I told my granddaughter the other day, if they said that you have to wear pink shorts to help everybody, I would wear pink shorts. I don't have no problem with helping us get over this pandemic. Thank you very much.
What about orange shorts or orange and black?
I was about to go there with the. We have.
Don't show up with pink shorts.
Quick, Council Kohler, save us. Oh, gosh.
That's pretty hard to recover
That's a
from.
great
Yeah.
That's a great response.
Yep, that was.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was fortunate enough to do a neighborhood night out with Chief Teague. And because we were in an open air vehicle, I got to ride with him, and I very much enjoyed visiting with him for a couple hours and all the different places we were able to go together. Thank you very much. Wednesday was the sponsors luncheon for the Kaiser Fest, and during that luncheon, they presented us with a nice little thing to put on our wall, and wanted to present that to the city, and we'll give that to Dan, who will place it in the appropriate location at City Hall. So I'll put that here.
We have a whole gallery, don't we?
We do.
Yep.
We do. I don't think we've missed any years. Then, as far as Kaiser Fest goes, as Kaiser Fest has finished with another successful year, I feel I need to acknowledge what a great city we live in. So many have worked so hard for so many years to get to set a precedence for us to continue. If I were to start naming names, I'd fail miserably in including everyone. I've seen so many putting in countless hours to make all this a very enjoyable event for all. With all the modifications that we had to do to still do one, we still did it. I feel blessed to witness the patient, humble, dedicated, selfless service rendered by hundreds of people doing their best to do their part to make all this possible. If there is a room for improvement, absolutely, yes. But look at all that was accomplished. My hat's off to the Kaiser Chamber. Great job. Tuesday, I attended the Parks Board for Council President Smith. Thursday, I attended the Commissioner's Breakfast with Mayor Clark, which I'm sure she'll report on. And Thursday, I attended, also Thursday evening, the Volunteer Coordinating Committee, which we'll hear about next meeting. And congrats to Tina and Larry Jackson on their nuptials this weekend.
Great celebration. Yeah. Thank you very much. Councilor Day.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to welcome back our incomparable city recorder, Tracy Davis.
Yay!
Glad to see you back. Not that I don't love Debbie, but
Uh-huh.
I was happy to see Tracy tonight. It's again, I want to echo the comments about National Night Out. I owe Councilor Herrera an apology. Promised I'd come by and have a burger. We were following the officers, Councilor Duran and I, and we kept saying, okay, we're going to Councilor Herrera's. We're going to, and they kept taking a different turn, and next thing you know, I was getting squirted by water pistols somewhere over by Kennedy. So
Next year.
yeah. Again, Kaiser Fest, it was awesome. The parade was great. Really enjoyed that. I want to thank, on August 7th, my little neck of the woods of Kaiser was visited by, we had the Kaiser Fire Department, or Fire District, and then we had 4 of Kaiser's finest there. And Chief, I told you this already, but I'll just, tell everyone, your officers could not have been more professional and courteous and respectful. They were, I walked out and introduced myself as Ross. I didn't, say anything other than that. And I'm Ross, the nosy neighbor, what's going on. They were fantastic. It was clearly a tense situation. I still don't know what happened, and I probably don't need to know, but they were awesome. They were absolutely awesome. And I was really appreciative of how they conducted themselves, because we've got a lot of kids and families, and everyone was out kind of looking around and could have, panicked and everything else. And that wasn't a problem. So thank you. I want to remind everybody that August 29th is the Monster Cookie at Kaiser Rapids Park, the 45th, and Hirsch Sangster's last as the chair. It won't be his last writing in. But so if you haven't signed up, you can sign up now. I think it's on the Salem Bicycle Club's website. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, this Thursday, the Traffic, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Safety Committee, Traffic Safety, I never get the name right, is holding a meeting, and the focus of the meeting will be on red light cameras in Kaiser. And so I'm encouraging people to make sure they show up and participate in the process and help the committee gather information before it makes a decision on, a recommendation to council. So that'll be this Thursday at 6 o'clock here in council chambers. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. I only have a couple more things to add. National Night Out, copy paste everything you said. It was tons of fun. Kaiser Fest, also tremendous time to get everybody back together. You can tell people really wanted to. Another way to tell people really wanted to get back together is those concerts down at Kaiser Rapids Park. There were probably north of 1,000 people there Saturday night for JFK, just for kicks. Down there, it was wonderful. It was a hot, muggy night, but when you get in the shade down at the amphitheater, it gets much, much better. But people had a wonderful time. It's outdoors, families, and people just getting time to visit once again and enjoy some fantastic music. So there's more coming up. Go to Keizer Rotary Amphitheater. You heard tonight that some more bands have been approved, so check the new lineup of bands that will be coming to provide outdoor concerts. And thank you to our chief sponsors, the City of Kaiser, Kaiser Times, and other local sponsors who are making sure that these concerts can remain free for all the people in our community. Couple of things that folks haven't mentioned yet. I went to the SEDCOR, which is the Strategic Economic Development Corporation annual meeting. There's a great video online about the fantastic wine industry we have here in the Willamette Valley, which is also world-class. And you can see more information also about more projects that have come online, even with COVID. There's still economic development happening in the agriculture, manufacturing, shipping and distribution sectors right here in our three-county Marion, Polk, Yamhill area. And there's more projects that are going to come online. It's very exciting to know that we have business partners throughout our region that are providing family wage jobs right here in the valley. And if you know somebody who's looking for a job, there are jobs looking for them. Am I right, Mr. Duran, Councilor Duran? Yes, there are jobs, family wage jobs that are open and are recruiting. On the 11th, the same day, was the legislative committee for the Willamette Valley Council of Governments. I stood on that committee with 4 other members from Marion, Polk, and Yamhill counties. We're talking about legislative concepts that we want to make sure we develop, looking again at our 3-county area for land use, housing, water and sewer infrastructure, things that we need to address in the short term and then also in the long session. So I'm going to be especially coming to you, Council, but putting it out there on my Facebook page for folks to give me input on your priorities going forward into the short and long session. I also asked, and I got additional information to bring to that committee because there wasn't a representative from education or, I represent the Homeless Alliance. So talking specifically about services to our youth and young adults. So if anybody wants to know what's happening there, again, very exciting work being done. Our Youth Advisory Board, which is comprised of youth and young adults that is up to age about 24, who are experiencing homelessness, who are part of this Youth Advisory Board, who are bringing the real world on the ground. This is how life is right now, experience, and also advising how we can be effective in meeting their needs and the needs of their friends who are also experiencing homelessness, so we can put an end to them being homeless, but also be more proactive in prevention. About 70% of our chronically homeless became homeless initially when they were teens. So this is also not only making their lives better, but also a very significant part of prevention for long-term and chronic homelessness. If you want to be able to see the presentation we saw, the collaborative committee will get a presentation that we got from Tricia Frizzell. She is with Community Action Agency, and she is a youth and young adults coordinator for that organization, and she also has up the work with the Homeless Alliance. She is a rock star. She is from Kaiser, and she is absolutely awesome. When it comes to youth and young adults, she is a champion who brought us the Youth Challenge and wasn't satisfied to stop there, but with all of us working together is pushing forward. So that's at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning. That will be a Zoom meeting. If you can't Zoom in at that time, please go to the website afterwards, the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, and you'll be able to upload the video and watch that. Very exciting work. Progress is being made, and more students are being served. With that in mind, I want to end with this. We received an email tonight from former Council President Kim Freeman, who works for the Oregon Housing and Community Services, on rental assistance. So she wants us to get out there. That is, there are more grants more opportunities for people to receive rental assistance. It's not automatic, though. People do have to apply, so we want to make sure that people can get that information, get it now, so they can get things taken care of and not wait till the last minute and go, oh, I'm behind. That wasn't a surprise. Let's get those applications in now so people can get rental assistance, be caught up. Like, we are very proactive here with our utility billing, our Kaiser services billing. We want people to be current. We want to help get out the word so people can be current on their rent and don't have to worry about getting caught up. And then don't forget, tomorrow is Trashy Tuesday. This is our environmental services department, and they're going to be doing trash cleanup and invasives and so forth over by Creekside Shopping Center, Ware Mart, Subway, right along there. Wear boots. It gets mucky down there, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I've done a couple of these Trashy Tuesdays, and it's fun to get together with people and clean up along our waterways. Very important, and it's just fun to be outside anyway. So that's all I've got to kind of wrap up this part of tonight's. God, there's so much going on, isn't there? This is awesome. Agenda input. We will meet next week, as Mr. Hare mentioned, on the 23rd, starting at 6 p.m. We'll have a work session starting to talk about ARPA, which is the American Recovery and Prosperity Act. Got it. Projects, and this is the approximately 8.8 million that we will be receiving in those funds, and we need to do some long-range planning on how those can work for us. Our next regular session then will be on September 7th. It is a Tuesday because of the Monday holiday for Labor Day. We will begin at 7 p.m. Then on September 13th at 6 p.m. we will meet here. Ms. Davis, we meet here before we go on the parks tour, correct? Okay, so 6 p.m. be here, and then we will visit the 3 parks that Mr. Laurie mentioned. That is Claggett Creek Park, Wallace House Park, and Palmacia Park. Of course, you're always invited to visit the other 16 parks in our fabulous park system. And then finally, on September 20th, we will meet here, it's a Monday night at 7 p.m. in regular session. Is there anything else for agenda input? All right, anything else for the good of the order? I want to thank you all very much, and you all have a very safe rest of the month. Enjoy your Labor Day holidays safely. The time is 9:03. We are adjourned.